Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here. Police got there. They arrested Billy. Took him down. Booked him. He's there. They charged him with an aggravated assault and aggravated sexual battery. He's there. It's over with. He's hit. Now he's got to do some time. She's free. She's free. And it looks as though that she's found somebody that she can depend on. She don't want to be in a relationship with anybody right now, but somebody that's always had her back, always been right there in her face all this time, that loved her the way that she deserved to be loved. She missed it, but now he's there. And they're talking every day. He went back home, you know what I'm saying? He went back home because he had a girlfriend, and he had told his girlfriend that it's over. He said he can't do it anymore. He's been living a lie, and she knew that he wasn't fully committed to her. You know, she had found her somebody on the side anyway, and she told him it was going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? That she would always be his friend, and she left. So he talked to Teresa on the phone almost every day. And they were making plans, but he knew that she needed some time. So after about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, they had been seeing each other and dating, and he had gone down there a couple of times and stayed a couple of weekends here and there, but never anything that would be make her feel like he was pushing her or anything like that, because she needed time to heal. He wanted her when she was ready, not when she, if she felt obligated to, because he had been there for and all this and that. She wanted to be in a relationship like that, and he wanted that for her. So he was patient, and he took his time. And during this time, Cheryl is growing up, y'all. Cheryl is growing up. She's about to become a teenager, you know what I'm saying? Her 12th birthday is coming up, and, 10th birthday, let me say that. 10th birthday is coming up. And things are looking good. But she's still, wondering about her dad. She was there, but she was asleep that night when it happened. And they didn't tell her initially that, he was in jail, in prison. And they most definitely didn't tell her why he was there. But over time, when she would go spend time with her grandparents, his parents, she would hear little bits and pieces of the story, and she still wanted to see her father. She loved her father. So they talked to Teresa about it, and Teresa agreed to let her talk to him for now. And he would be allowed to talk to her when she visited his parents, but he could not call Teresa. She did not want him to have that number. So whenever she came down and visited with her grandparents, his parents, he would talk to her every weekend. Every weekend he would talk to her, and he would tell her, that he loved her, and he did, and how much he missed her, and he wanted to see her and all this and that. And she would tell her grandparents that she wants to go see her dad. And after about 6 months to a year, it got to the point to where she was getting more and more aggressive and sad about not being able to see him, and she blamed her mother for that. Because he told her, just tell your mother, and she'll make the final decision. And when her mother told her no, she was angry. She was angry about that. She wanted to see her dad. But Teresa was adamant. He was a monster, and she didn't want him to influence her. But over time, she relented, she gave in, and she allowed Cheryl to go see him when she was visiting his parents. And they took her to see him, and she was just like a little kid again. She loved her dad. She loved him. But her dad was a manipulator, and he put a lot of things in her head, making her feel like everything was her mother's fault. The reason he was in prison is because of her. And she bought it. She's a teenager, y'all. She doesn't know any better. He poisoned her mind. Poisoned it against her mother. And it was hard for her when she would have to go back home with her mother to to obey her mother, to do what her mother wanted her to do because she wanted to show her loyalty, her allegiance to her father. So she acted out. And she would call her grandparents and tell her grandparents that she wants to come live with them and all of this and that, right? And they would talk to Teresa and tell her, look, something has to give. And she would tell them, it's your son that's making her act like this, you know? And they knew it, but they loved their son and they loved their granddaughter. And they wanted to figure a way to compromise about this because she come to stay with them for half of the year, something. And Teresa would say, no, absolutely not. But see, a lot of people didn't understand what was going on with Billy at the prison. See, Billy was at the prison. He had developed a habit. Oh, yeah. He had developed a habit. And he was getting high every day. Every day. And he was costing his parents a lot of money because they were the ones that were paying it. Sending him money here and there and whatnot, paying for his drugs. They knew he had an addiction. But whenever Cheryl would come up, he'd come to visit clean, looking fresh, all of this kind of stuff, right? But he was a hardcore addict. And after about 2 or 3 years, his addiction got the better of it. Yeah, Cheryl was going to see him. She was getting older. Things were, working out with her and him, but it wasn't working out, with her and her mom. And she was just more and more frustrated, and she was saying she couldn't wait until she was old enough to leave. Now, at this time, like I say, she was around 15, 16 years old. And one of the days when she was visiting her father at the prison, one of his friends was at visit with his son. Now, his friend that he met in prison, and I use the term loosely, his friend was one of the guys that was hustling the dope, bringing the dope in. And his son was around the same age as Cheryl. So she's looking at him, he's looking at her, they're looking at each other, and they're doing what teenagers do. They'll go to the vending machine and say hi all awkwardly and all this and that, right? And over time, it got to be like this little cat and mouse game that they would play whenever they were at visit at the same time. And they liked each other, so they exchanged phone numbers. And she would call him and talk to him. And Billy found out about it. But instead of doing the fatherly thing and making sure that this little boy was doing right by his daughter, he tried to manipulate the situation and use it to his advantage. Because that little boy's father had that dope. He had that bag. And he knew that little boy liked Cheryl. And he would tell Cheryl from time to time to ask him to make sure he took care of his dad. Never told her what it was about. But he would tell his dad to make sure you take care of Cheryl's dad. And he would. But it got to the point to where it became too much. So Billy tried to figure out a way to manipulate the situation even more, but he couldn't. So he promised that his daughter was going to bring some money to pay for some stuff. She didn't have any idea what was going on. And she was going to give the money to his son, to the dope dealer's son. She didn't have any money. And this particular weekend when she was in town visiting Billy's parents, she had made arrangements to rendezvous with the little boy. Now, she's supposed to be giving him some money now, but she didn't have any money. So when she goes over to the little boy's house, his father says, "Where is my money?" And she told him, "I don't know what you're talking about." So he pushed her to the side and he waited until, Billy called. And when Billy called, he told him, "Your daughter says she don't know nothing about that." So he told him. He said, "Man, can we work out something else? Can we work out another arrangement?" Right? And he said, "What are you talking about?" He said, You know what I'm talking about. And if you want to know what he's talking about, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? It's going to get better. You're going to want to hear this. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.